my bookish besties. I'm so glad that you clicked on today's video. Today, I am going to be doing a mid-year book tag. I know it is the middle of July when this is being filmed and posted, but better late than never, right? I think it's still important to do. With that said, I have my laptop here with the questions and books ready to go to share with you on how the first half of the year went reading-wise. Drink of the day, coffee, which you probably aren't surprised by at this point. I love coffee. It is an unusual summer day here in Montana. It is July 16th and the high for today is 61. We have had a cool front come in, which I'm not complaining about because it's beautiful, but just 2 days ago it was 97 degrees. Yesterday was a high of 58. So huge drop in temperature here, but I'm not complaining. It's rainy, gloomy, perfect day for reading, a hot cup of coffee, a nice sweatshirt. I'm wearing my favorite bookish sweatshirt by my favorite Etsy shop, the Bookish Belle. Her stuff is the best. If you see me wearing anything bookish, it's most likely by her. Anyways, enough jabbering. Let's get into the mid-year book tag. First question is, how many books have you read so far this year and what is your reading goal? I have read a total of 33 books so far this year and my reading goal for the year of 2025 is 75 books. So I am a little bit behind on my reading goal, but I'm still hopeful that I'll be able to catch up and reach my goal of 75 books by the end of this year. I chose 75 books simply because last year I had 50 as my reading goal for the year, and I read 60 in total. So I really wanted to challenge myself this year and read 75, just see how close I could get. If I don't end up making it, that's fine. It's not the end of the world. I am the eldest daughter though, so I do have the overachiever and perfectionism instilled within me. And so I will probably still be disappointed if I don't make it, but it's not the end of the world. I'm still feeling hopeful about reaching that goal. I just kind of feel like I've been in a little bit of a slump the last 2 months. It's summer. Summer's busy because summer's the best time of year, as the Montanans say. It's the best season in Montana. And so it's just been busy with a lot of activities. But I know that once the fall and winter come around, I'm gonna be reading so much more. They're also my favorite seasons of the year, so. Next question is, what is a genre breakdown of the books you have read? I went through all the books and I categorized them by genre for the 33 that I have read so far this year. So far this year, I have read 14 fantasy, 11 romance, 2 fiction, 1 thriller, 1 children's fiction, 1 dystopian, and 3 historical fantasy / fiction. I kind of combined historical fiction and historical fantasy together because there is a book that I read this year that is categorized as fantasy, but it has a lot of Chinese history in it. And I just didn't feel that it was 100% fantasy except for the end. The ending was really the only fantastical part about it. And so I felt weird calling it truly just a fantasy. So that is a genre breakdown of the genres of books I've read this year and how many of each genre. So obviously fantasy heavy, with romance coming up in second place, which is not a shocker. Next question is going to be a star ranking breakdown. So for me, I, like most everybody else, rate on a scale of 1 to 5. So a 1-star ranking is absolutely disliked it, would not recommend. This book could probably just be poorly written, poor character development, the plot didn't make any sense, it maybe didn't even have a plot, and it's just a book that I highly disliked and just wouldn't recommend. The 2-star ranking is did not really like it. There were a few okay parts, but overall I wouldn't recommend it, but I would recommend it for a very specific reason to a very specific person. They're typically books that I also wouldn't be keeping on my shelves unless I thought that someone that I know would want to read it. 3-star ranking is it was a good book, wasn't necessarily a standout or my favorite, but would still recommend it and still enjoyed it. Good writing, the plot was at least there. Maybe it wasn't like fully wrapped up, or maybe like if it was a romance, if the third act conflict, it really took a hit to the book and just didn't feel realistic, then it would be probably knocked down to a 3-star. But it's still a good book and I would still keep it on my shelf and would recommend it to people because a 3-star ranking is still a good book. It's still a good ranking, still a good book. 4 stars is loved it, really solid book. The plot was there, character development, the writing was great. I just maybe didn't get that feeling, if you know what I'm talking about. If I close the book after finishing it and I feel satisfied or I'm questioning in a good way, depending on what I'm reading, then it's going to be a solid 4-star book. Now going into the 5-star ranking. 5 stars is a feeling I get when I am reading a book and I feel truly immersed in the world, whether it is a fantasy or a romance, whatever it is, sci-fi, dystopian. If I feel like I can picture exactly what's happening in my mind, that is a 5-star book for me. If I truly feel like I'm watching a movie but reading words on a page, it's just a feeling I get, and I absolutely love that feeling. Chasing that feeling every day. It's typically for a book that is mind-blowing, touched my heart, took my breath away, made me gasp, made me giggle, made me cry, most likely. If a book makes me cry, it has a high possibility of becoming a 5-star. Like, I'm talking sobbing, not just like, oh, dabbing tears away. I'm like sobbing, crying is what I mean. Ugly crying, if you will. The book kind of becomes my Roman Empire where I'm constantly thinking about it, and if I won't shut up about the book, then you know it's good. If I'm telling my husband, my friends, my family all about this book, you know it heavily made an impression in my mind and changed my brain chemistry. And it's truly just a feeling. I figured I would just include my spice rating meter in here. I'm someone who doesn't particularly enjoy spice in a book. Most of the time it's not needed, it feels thrown in there, and just isn't my favorite. And sometimes it's like fine because it's more closed door, it's more fade to black, or it's not super descriptive, but then there's other times where it is like, whoa, I feel like I should not be reading this. Because I try to also give my spice ranking with it as well, so that way people who read similarly to me or don't and enjoy spice in books will know kind of what they're getting themselves into whenever they see my reviews. So my spice ranking meter, my 1 spice ranking is there's build up, but then it fades to black. So you're not given anything more than that. My 2 spice ranking is classy spice. It's well done, but it's not just super descriptive, or it's not derogatory. It's not filled with a bunch of things that you just feel like you shouldn't know or be reading on a page. And it's well done. It's not, well, you know. 3 spice ranking is it's a spicy book. It's a spicy book, it's got spice in there, it's descriptive, not my favorite. A 4 spice ranking is it is too vulgar for me personally, and certain things should just be kept behind closed doors. And then a 5-star ranking is no thank you, and that's it. No thank you. It is too much. Yeah, just no thank you, it's too much. That's it. Moving on to the 4th question, which is, what is the longest book you have read this year? And that would be Goldfinch by Raven Kennedy. And it was, I believe, 660 pages long. Yes, 660 pages long. And I would not recommend. This is a dark romance fantasy, and I didn't know that going into it. I'm not gonna lie, I did not know that going into it. So I did skip a lot of the scenes. We were reading this for a Fable book club I'm in, and the first book got me. The way it ended, I fell in love with the main character. I really wanted to see her character development and become stronger and find herself. And so I did read the entire series, obviously, but I would not recommend it because, one, the way that this book ends is just dumb, and I felt was so anticlimactic and just threw away all of the buildup of this amazing world. Like, the world building was spectacular. How I would describe this, and this is no shame or hate to Raven Kennedy at all. For writing, I enjoyed Raven Kennedy's writing so much, but the way that this series ended, it felt as though the author knew how to start a series, build a world, continue the world, build it up, but didn't know how to finish it. Also, just literally the final chapter in this book, actually made me slam the book shut and slam it on my table, and I was like, are you kidding me? I just spent so many hours reading this series and it ends that way. Not my favorite. Not my favorite. So unfortunately would not recommend. I forget what star rating I exactly gave this because I finished this towards the beginning of this year. The series as a whole was most of the time fun. The third book was my favorite. It was so good, didn't really have any spice in it. It was all about the politics and the world building and characters. It was spectacular. And then it just went downhill from there. But Goldfinch by Raven Kennedy was the longest book I read so far this year. The fifth question is shortest book that you've read so far this year. I decided to go ahead and say two different books because technically the shortest book I've read this year is a children's fiction book, which is The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot. This is obviously what inspired the Princess Diaries movies, and if you know me, the Princess Diaries are literally my favorite comfort movie, and I watch them multiple times throughout the year. This is a children's fiction novel. I gave it 3 stars. Super simple, easy. It's 238 pages. Super short, simple, because it's a children's fiction novel. So this is technically the shortest book I've read this year, but then right behind it is going to be Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica. This is my first Mary Kubica novel, and it was a no for me personally. I gave this a 2.5 star rating, and I just remember while I was reading this that there was way too much dialogue. Way too much dialogue. It seemed to drag on forever for it being one of the shortest books I've ever read. I've read this year. It is 324 pages. There was way too much dialogue. It was way too predictable, and it felt so disjointed sometimes and very unrealistic. Wasn't my favorite, unfortunately. I always give authors 3 chances, so this is my first one. So if the next 2 books by Mary Kubica that I end up reading don't hit for me, then I don't think that she's the author for me. But unfortunately, didn't love this one. Wouldn't really recommend it unless you're someone that's not like me, where when I'm reading a thriller or a mystery, I like to try to figure out what's going on. I don't just sit and read it and just wait for it to tell me. I try to figure it out myself. And so if a thriller can surprise me, it's a good thriller for me. This was just way too predictable and felt so disjointed and way too much dialogue. The 6th question is, what is a book that exceeded your expectations? And I have been so excited to answer this question because that would be A Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabaa Tahir. Oh my word. This is, unfortunately for you, the 4th book and final book in a series, her series An Ember in the Ashes. This became my Roman Empire, and I then continued to tell everybody that they need to read An Ember in the Ashes series because I needed someone to talk to about what happened in this book. I was absolutely blown away with how scenes played out, relationships formed or were destroyed. I can't say too much, obviously, because it's the 4th book in the series, but if you don't know what An Ember in the Ashes is, I've talked about it previously on my channel. There's actually a reading vlog of me reading this, and you can see me ugly cry while reading this because it destroyed me in so many beautiful and hurtful ways. An Ember in the Ashes series follows a girl named Laya. She becomes a spy for the rebellion, and she basically goes into enemy waters and is a spy for the rebellion against this faction called the Masks, which are basically assassins, and they're killing a bunch of Laya's people. While Laya is a spy, she runs into Elias. These two meet and their paths intertwine, and it is one of the best series I have ever read. That's only a little bit about the first book technically. I can't say much, but with each book you do get more point of views, and it's so good. It's so good. You need to read this, okay? You need to read An Ember in the Ashes series all the way through. So we can chat about this and you can hurt with me, but also be blown away because I still think about these characters and I miss them. The 7th question is, what book disappointed you the most? And that would be Goldfinch by Raven Kennedy again. I've already talked a little bit about this, obviously, because I'm really trying not to double up on books, but there's just certain questions in this book tag that needed me to repeat the same book because I was so majorly disappointed with how this series wrapped up. So majorly disappointed, and the way that this book ended was bad. It was bad, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. The 8th question is, what book has the prettiest cover? And I have 2 books for this because I love both of these covers so much. The first one being A Song to Drown Rivers by Anne Leong. Loved this book. I believe I gave it a 4.75. It was so close to being a 5-star, but the way something happened, which I cannot say because it's a huge spoiler, the way something happened in this book really just felt like it had no purpose and wasn't explained or had any explanation for it. But I love this book, and the cover of it is to die for. Like, also the sprayed edges, I know we're just talking about the cover, but like, gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. The inside, so beautiful. If you take the dust cover off, even the inside of it is gorgeous. You've got a sword, and you've got a beautiful hairpiece. So gorgeous. So gorgeous. I feel like the cover for this book also matches the story, if that makes sense. Love this book cover. Then the second book is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I love this cover. I love this cover. This cover actually pops in my head frequently because I just love how bright it is. I love how we have our 2 main characters. She's reading, he's looking up at her with papers strewn all over the place. I just love this cover. I don't know, it's just so like mosaic and reminds me of stained glass windows. And I just love this. I love this cover so much. I also love this story. This story is Emily Henry's newest release. It was released this year, and I gave it 5 stars because I love this story. If you don't know what the story is about, it is about 2 writers who are going for the same job of writing this famous woman's story. So they basically are competing. She is kind of, just to put it briefly, a no-name in the writer's world. She's trying to make her way into the ranks. He's won a Pulitzer Prize and made a name for himself, is a very successful writer, and so she is going against him. They have a trial where they're trying to show their best work to the woman that they are writing about, so that way she chooses them. So you learn about this woman's story, but you also learn a lot about our main characters, and there's obviously a little bit of romance involved. And man, I just loved this story between our 2 main characters because their banter, but also their little interactions with one another were so stinking cute. So stinking cute. And I loved how things wrapped up. I really did. So 5 stars, Emily Henry, prettiest cover, along with A Song to Drown Rivers by Anne Leong. Question number 9 is, what new author have you discovered this year? I also have 2 books for this question because these 2 authors have recently become 2 of my favorites. So technically one of these authors' books I haven't quite finished reading my first book by them, but I'm loving them so much that I know they're gonna be a favorite author. The first one being, which is one I haven't finished, is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. His writing, so fun. Humor, love it. And I'm loving this book. This is a Fable Book Club pick for the month with my Fable Book Club that I'm in. And I just know that Andy Weir is going to become a favorite author and possibly an auto-buy author for me. I love his writing and his humor. Enough said. Then the second author that's new to me this year that I fell in love with is Hannah Bonham Young. Out on a Limb was the first book I read by Hannah Bonham Young. It's the only book that I've yet to read by her. But I quickly fell in love with her writing and her storytelling. This book holds a special place in my heart too. I just read it not that long ago and I love them. I love them. This is a romance book that I gave 5 stars, and aside from Emily Henry books, giving a romance of 5 stars, it's kind of rare. Emily Henry's books are just different. This is also just different in the way of there's more to the story. This is a book about 2 characters that struggle with disabilities, and I loved stepping into their world, and it was very educational for me, and I love Hannah Bonham Young's writing. I think she is a very talented author, and I'm excited to read more by her. The next book I think I'm going to read by her is Out of the Woods, which follows 2 characters that are also in this book, and I'm excited to see what she does with them and to follow them because I loved them in this story, and they were just side characters, so this one as well. The 10th question is, what book pulled you out of a reading slump? And that would be An Ember in the Ashes by Sabata here. Oh man, before this book, I was in such a bad reading slump where nothing was really grabbing my attention, keeping me in the story. I was reading just to be reading, essentially, not because I was enjoying what was going on. But then I read An Ember in the Ashes and I devoured this book. This is the first book in the Ember in the Ashes series that I've already talked a whole lot about, so I won't spend too much time on it. But this pulled me out of one of the worst reading slumps I've been in, and obviously it took me to the end and became a 6-star series for me. This was a 5-star book. Every book in that series was a 5-star book for me. The fact that every single book in a series was a 5 stars for me speaks volumes to Sabata Tahir's writing and storytelling, world building, and characters. This, if I could just put this in my body and just like imprint it in my heart forever, I would. Question number 11 is, what is a book that made you laugh out loud? And that would be Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. This is, I believe, the 3rd book in her Rebel Blue Ranch interconnected standalone romance series. And this book follows 2 characters it's kind of like rivals to lovers. She's best friends with the main male character's sister. And so they've grown up together, they've known each other, and they drive each other absolutely up the walls, which just made this story so much fun because the chemistry that they have with one another, they already have history. They've grown up with each other, they know each other really well, they drive each other crazy, but then they discover that they have feelings for each other. I was laughing so hard throughout this. It does have spice in it, but I was laughing so hard, and read it very fast. I think I read this in like almost one sitting. I ended up giving this a 4-star rating, and I love Teddy and Gus. They're hilarious, and I'm glad that they, obviously, not a spoiler because it's a romance, end up together. But the whole process of them getting together was just so funny. Their interactions were hilarious. So, Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage was the book that made me laugh out loud. Question number 12 is, what book made you cry? And aside from picking up A Sky Beyond the Storm again, I decided to pick a different book. You're welcome. And that would be Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is Haymitch's story. It follows Haymitch and his Quarter-Quell Hunger Games. This is also featured in the same reading vlog as A Sky Beyond the Storm. That reading vlog only has these 2 books, and there were a lot of tears spilled, okay? I was severely dehydrated after filming that video because I could not stop crying. I gave this 5 stars. I love Haymitch. I feel like we all love Haymitch. And reading his story, I feel, is so important to truly understanding why he ended up the way he did and his coping mechanisms. I loved also stepping back into the Hunger Games world and Suzanne Collins' writing. I love how she writes. I truly feel like she kind of made dystopian what it is. She defined a lot of things with the Hunger Games, at least for me, as someone who grew up reading the books and then the movies came out and then going to see the movies. And I feel that because of Suzanne Collins, dystopian is making a comeback in the genre book realm of things, which makes me very excited. So good. You need to read this after you read the trilogy and read A Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, and read this one. It's so good. Heartbreaking. Made me sob, but it was so good. Question number 13 is, what is a book you can't stop thinking about? And I'm sorry, not sorry for repeating myself, but An Ember in the Ashes series. The whole thing. An Ember in the Ashes by Sabata Tahir. I can't stop thinking about these books. I really can't. So I can't say just one book in the series because you have to read the whole thing in order for it to become your entire personality and Roman Empire, like me. So good. I've already talked about these enough, so I'll just leave it at that. Enjoy. And then the last question, question number 14, is what is your least favorite read of the year so far? And that would be Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. This book, like Goldfinch, I don't think in a positive light. And I appreciated what Bonnie Garmis was trying to do, but our main character felt that she was a modern day 2025 feminist back in the 1970s. I just didn't enjoy it, unfortunately. I was so excited to read this book. and it was so hyped up. It was so popular. Like, I feel like everyone saw that book everywhere with the pink cover and the head and the pencil and the hair everywhere. It was hard to avoid. So finally read it with my Fable book club, and for most of us in book club didn't like it. And we all kind of agreed about the same things, where it just like, there were some things that just felt super out of touch. And in here, Elizabeth Zott, our main character, she just felt so unlikable. And every character that was any form of religious in this book felt so hypocritical. We know people like that exist, that are religious. It just felt very pointed, if that makes sense. And I felt that Elizabeth Zott was never challenged in her thinking, not to change her mind, but I feel like the author really missed a huge opportunity of challenging Elizabeth Zott's thinking, so we could feel like we could get to know her more and understand why she operates and thinks the way she does and goes through life the way that she does, because I feel like I didn't really know her and the why. The only characters I really liked in this were Elizabeth Zott's partner and the dog and her neighbor. Also, her daughter in this, not a realistic 4-year-old, I'm gonna say that. So yeah, my least favorite book was definitely this one so far this year, and I don't recommend it. 2.5 stars. It was not great. The writing was really good and I enjoyed learning. I loved reading chemistry in here. It didn't feel super over the top, like you have to be smart in order to read this book. Super digestible. As someone who didn't like science growing up, I enjoyed that part. I actually enjoyed that part probably more than the actual rest of the story. But Lessons in Chemistry, Bonnie Garmis, don't really recommend, but would for very specific reasons. So that is my mid-year book tag. Thank you so much for being here and for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I greatly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and turn on that little bell notification so that way you get notified every single time I post, and hit that like button and comment down below what your favorite read of the year so far has been for you personally. I would love to know and discuss with you down in the comments. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at @thebookish and on Fable and Goodreads. All of that is linked down below. I really hope you enjoyed today's video and really appreciate you being here. I'll see you in the next one.